And a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world on a gloriously beautiful Sunday morning here in the Spice Hall. Today, the 23rd day of February, 2020. I'm George Grant saying welcome to this edition of Sundays with George Grant. Boy, do we have a busy morning for you. And I'm sure that you're going to be entertained, informed, and educated. Yeah, a lot to look forward to over the next 3 hours. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. If you find that I'm not paying an awful lot of attention this morning to social media, it's because there's so much going on here this morning and I'm alone. So bear with me. But we're going to give it a very best shot. Let's take a look at the rundown, see whither we go. We will begin with the buzz, which of course has a reading from the Holy Scriptures. We never get started without that. And in addition to that, yeah, she's with us this morning. Little Angel is going to be popping up not too long from now. So hang in there, hear what she has to say this week. Our editorial this morning comes to you from the New Today, and it's captioned, Eyes on the RGPF, Royal Grenada Police Force. Hear what they have to say. Then there's a little piece which I came across, say, must have been about midnight last night, from REUTERS news agency. It's an update on the coronavirus. Very short, but it's an update on the virus. As far as features are concerned, have you seen that rundown? Long rundown this morning? Well, we're going to begin with a very short piece. It's captioned, An Introduction to Franka Bernardine. And who is Franka Bernardine? You didn't know, right? Franka Bernardine is the political leader of the National Democratic Congress, and they sent out a little piece where she provides you with a brief but very interesting description of herself. Then, for those of you who have been with us on Good Day Grenada over the past 3 weeks or so, you've noticed that we've been commemorating Black History Month with a series produced by our good friend out there in the Big Apple, Margaret Francis. And Margaret has the series which she calls Black Makers of History. And this morning she's going to be touching on scientist Dr. KENRICK Lewis. She tries to educate us about some of our people who have really astounding accomplishments. Okay. Then we also have a little inspirational piece this morning. I love playing these inspirational pieces. This one I've captioned here, Don't Ever Compromise Your Life. I repeat, don't ever compromise your life. It's done by somebody named Guar, Gopal Das. And his little group's called Think 2020. Let me spell his name for you. Guar, Guar, Gopal, Gopal, and Das, Das. Then we get to Mr. Allan Bierzynski. Retired businessman. Everybody knows Allan. He's with us on Good Day Grenada every Thursday morning. And he has another little eye-opener for you this week. What we're going to do is show you the segment he did this past Thursday, which again was very interesting. Then I take a deep breath. You'll notice in the rundown, it says here, can we believe anything the authorities tell us? Yes, my dear friends, we have to ask that question. I'm not going to go into detail right now. I'll just wait until we get there. because you're going to hear some very disturbing stuff this morning. Very disturbing stuff. Hate to do that, but got to be frank with you. Got to be honest with you. And we have got part of the cast of Make We Chat joining us this morning. And the reason why I'm doing that, you know, it's one thing for those of us here in Grenada to jump to conclusions when you hear stuff. And God knows we're hearing a lot of stuff. So I thought, hey, let's get some different perspectives. Let's hear from those of us here, but also from people outside of Grenada. So you'll meet the Make We Chat staff or team a little later on this morning. Okay, there is your rundown. Now you understand why Georgie Porgy has been scampering and not wasting any time. Let's take our first little break here this morning, and then we will return with this week's edition of The Buzz.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And GrenadaBroadcast is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GrenadaBroadcast, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, so let's get right to it. It being the buzz. Yeah. We begin with a reading from the Holy Scriptures. This morning's reading comes to you from the book of James. James, chapter 1, verses 22 to 26, which says, "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. Those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. James chapter 1, 22 to 26. All right? All right. Now, see that person up there, Little Angel? Little Angel's contribution this week is captioned, "Unfair Laws, Wrongfully Acquiring Assets." I quote, "No one, including the government of Grenada, has a right to anyone's property without compensation. According to Section 6, Part 1 of Grenada's Constitution, quote, no property of any description shall be compulsory taken possession of, and no interest or right over property of any description shall be compulsory acquired, except where provision is made by a law applicable to that of possession or acquisition for the prompt payment of full compensation." In other words, no compulsory possession of any property in Grenada shall be acquired except where there is prompt, except where there is prompt and full compensation. In 2017, the government of Grenada proposed legislation requiring GRENADA to pay 5% of the company's pre-tax profit to a social fund, which was to be controlled by the government. This was a dangerously unsettling move by those who seemed bent on abusing power and threatened one of the most widely accepted, highly regarded, and recognized educational drives for young Grenadians, the GRENADA debates. What is even more unsettling is that the tendency to acquire property without compensation continues today with the same company, GRENADA. This time, with the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, their new initiatives and licenses, which, if left unchecked, can result in the irrevocable transfer of all GRENADA shares that are owned by private individuals to the government of Grenada, free of charge. To add insult to injury, no pre-consultation in relation to these initiatives was held with GRENADA, even when the company asked. A meeting with a delegation from GRENADA's board of directors was also refused. The private individual shareholders of GRENADA, who stand to lose big time, hardly had any opportunity to respond to a move which will cost them a viable and rewarding investment in a company they have grown to admire and respect. Since the takeover by WRB Enterprises, Grenadians became accustomed and continue to enjoy the convenience of a reliable electricity supply being generated by GRENADA. The company ought to be recognized for its successful management skills and commitment to a nation which was once devastated by blackouts and poor leadership by those who were in charge. The lack of consultation with GrenadaBroadcast and the lack of opportunity by its private shareholders are indeed valid concerns, and so too was making inaccessible documents available via the internet. Up to now, no one can access any of these documents. Beep, beep. No one can access any of these documents which were claimed to have been made available for consultation. These two cases involving GrenadaBroadcast and the persistent moves by the government of Grenada to acquire property that is not rightfully theirs highlight a public policy challenge which Grenada now faces in the making of laws. Unfortunately, Grenada does not seem to have leaders who are capable of overcoming this challenge. Grenada also lacks the interest of its people, the required strong institutional support, and incentives to address matters of national interest, which, if left unattended, can prove devastating for everyone. GrenadaBroadcast and its 1,600 private shareholders need to act now. They should do so urgently and effectively in order to safeguard their interests and Grenada from dictatorship tendencies which are disturbingly becoming too common on the island. Lawmakers should never be lawbreakers, and laws which were made for the lawless should never be allowed to be made by them. Signed, Little Angel. Thank you, Little Angel. Now, let me go to little social media, big social media. Okay, let's see here. Good morning, Anthea. Congratulations. First up this morning, girl. Claude Putna is saying good morning and wishing you guys a happy Sunday. Anthea and Claude, happy Sunday to you, both of you. Peter Bishop saying good morning from Long Island, and Kathleen Thomas saying howdy as well. Kipling sending God's blessings, and Earl Steele Sr. is saying good morning from Kayaku. Good morning to you, Mr. Steele. Let's scroll on down here. Anthea says, condolences to the Hopkins family and the Spice Island Resort staff on the transition of Sir Royston. Yes, thank you, Anthea. I join you, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there watching and listening also join in extending our condolences on the passing of Sir Royston. He passed away in the wee hours of yesterday morning. Okay, let's see here. Good morning. I haven't seen her yet, but I know that she's there. Margaret Francis is there. Kathleen Thomas, Millicent's husband. Hello, Ness. Good morning. Anthony DeRiggs is also there. Maria St. Bernard. Ian Blakey. Hello there, Ian. Erica Mitchell says, good morning, everyone, and blessings towards a great week ahead. Amen, girl, we need them. Michael Alexander, Russell Abraham. Maria St. Bernard is saying, good morning, everybody, and a happy Sunday. Everybody's happy this morning. Ain't that great? Ain't that great? Michael Alexander says, good morning, George and class. Happy Sunday, everyone, with God's blessings. Looking forward to a great time together. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. Good morning, Terry. Hello, Terry. How are the kids and the wife? Michelle Peters, say good morning. T.F. Richards is also there saying good morning from a cold, white Wisconsin. Yeah, I have to put a leash on this guy. He's all over the United States. Green's Auto Body is there. Patrick David, good morning to you, Mr. David. Nice to see you. Tessa Barry is saying good morning, George. And Tessa, please, I know I did so on WhatsApp yesterday, but I want to take this opportunity to extend my condolences on the passing of your mom, Tessa, who has been a regular with us for years. Her mom passed away this past week and will be laid to rest this coming Thursday. Be strong, my friend. This too will pass. I think I know what you're going through. Margaret Francis is saying good morning. She says she totally forgot her manners. Spanked. Margaret, good to see you anyway. All right, so now that we said the initial batch of good mornings, let's take another little break here, and then we'll come back with the editorial from the New Today.
Grenada, 1795. One man with a sense of destiny.
Tonight we stand our ground. Tonight we stand on the side of history.
14,000 slaves with a dream and a promise. Julian Fedor, a Heritage Theatre production, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, 28th and 29th March, 4th and 5th April at the Trade Center.
People was not made to live like this. It's like we have a cause.
Julian Fedor, an action-packed historical drama.
I see blood falling from the sky, filling up that mountain river, flowing from Belvedere Hills. I see blood.
4 big nights of theater, the play the nation has been waiting to see, with Sam Ogilvy, Lisa Grappy-James, Robert White, Dale Devine, and other top-of-the-line acting talents. Opening Saturday, 28th March. Get your tickets now.
One more over the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive.
Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision-making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
Look, I'm really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Pilgrims at 23 and a half minutes after the hour, Sunday morning. Let's turn now to the editorial from the New Today, which was published on Friday. It is captioned, Eyes on the RGPF, Royal Grenada Police Force. The New Today will be paying close attention to the criminal investigation on sexual misconduct started by the Royal Grenada Police Force against Cletus St. Paul, the top security aide of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell. This newspaper will be keeping a watchful eye on the police to see whether they will do their work on the case and not engage in any underhand and sloppy investigation, given the stakes involved in this high-profile case now in their hands. A number of people on the island do not trust the RGPF with certain investigations and have already expressed reservations that the St. Paul case is going nowhere far and will reach a dead end. The New Today can understand these sentiments, given past instances of what appeared to be a deliberate ploy by the police force to sweep under the carpet certain cases. A few years ago, the police were called upon to investigate an alleged rape by a senior superintendent of police and 2 other cases of sexual misconduct against 2 other superintendents of police. And those investigations went nowhere. As a matter of fact, the complainant was a female police officer who went to then Commissioner of Police Winston James to officially inform him of the rape that took place at a police house in St. John. 2 of the superintendents were known supporters of the new National Party, which was in power at the time of the incidents. The matter was brought to the attention of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Christopher Nelson, and he gave the police certain specific instructions on how to conduct the investigation into the case. The so-called investigation was put in the hands of a member of the force who was a junior to some of the superintendents who refused to be interviewed by him. Today, one of the superintendents who was identified as engaging in alleged sexual misconduct is now occupying a high office as an untouchable within the RGPF and might well be in a position to have access to the official police file on Mr. St. Paul. It should also be noted that the same superintendent was sent home from the job during the 1990 to 1995 rule of the island by the Congress government of late Prime Minister Sir Nicholas Brathwaite on allegations that he was engaged in serious, unlawful activities. However, the police officer was reinstated to the RGPF when current Prime Minister Mitchell came into office, and over the years has been given rapid promotion up the ranks of the police force. The public is also raising concerns about the status of police cases in the court against their own. Notably, ASP Claudius Coutain and the driving license scam, as well as one involving the infamous boxer and the poultry products. The New Today is also concerned about the silence of the organization known as the Grenada National Organization of Women on this particular issue of sexual assault of a woman by a top state official. Why the silence from GNOW? This organization should be asking a number of serious questions of our Prime Minister as the one who put the victim into contact with his security aide. It is well established that the lady did personally complain to Prime Minister Mitchell that she was allegedly sexually assaulted at her home by Mr. St. Paul. The logical question in the mind of any right-thinking person is the following. What does the Prime Minister know about this incident? And when did he know about it? And after hearing about it, did he suggest that she report the matter to the police? If not, can this be considered as a dereliction of duty on the part of Prime Minister Mitchell? Was he trying to cover it up and sweep it under the carpet, since the woman alleged that she told him since December about the alleged sexual assault on her? A number of other questions will naturally follow from the issue of this alleged sexual misconduct of the top member of the Prime Minister's security detail. GNOW and other organizations in the country have dropped the ball and are still asleep on a matter in which a female member of our society is complaining about an act of sexual misconduct against her by a very high-profile state official. The main opposition National Democratic Congress, should also be interested in this St. Paul matter, since it points in the direction of an abuse of power. The simple question is the following: how can a political operative of the ruling party, who is not a public officer appointed to serve in the civil service by the Public Service Commission, be in a position of authority to give out government land and building materials? This is another clear case of a breakdown of the independent institutions in the country under the NNP regime. The victim in the Cletus St. Paul case should be congratulating for mustering the strength and energy to come forward and to go to the police, given the political landscape in the country, in which Grenada is now a one-party state under the total control of Prime Minister Mitchell and the NNP. And it is well known that Mr. Cletus St. Paul is a key figure in the NNP setup to maintain its stranglehold on political power in the country. The New Today can testify that a number of women have since come forward with information about their experiences with St. Paul, who was placed in a very important position by the current government to assist persons looking for assistance with the distribution of government material and lands. According to one such individual, and I quote, "It's been happening to a lot of us vulnerable women in the country, all because we looking for a better life," unquote. The nation is watching to see the next stage in the unfolding story. That, Pilgrims, is your editorial, which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. Now, don't want to get too far behind here, so let me jump back here just a wee bit and see who they and who do they. Boy, you guys are piling in this morning. Nice to see you. Okay, T.F. Richards, Tissberry, okay. Sharon Roberts. Hello there, Sharon. Pleasant morning to all, thanking God for this beautiful morning. Ain't it beautiful, Sharon? Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us. Ann Thomas is there. Anthony Howard is there. Maria St. Bernard says it's a sunny Sunday in Toronto with a high of 8 degrees. 8 degrees Celsius. Oh, that's high. Come on. It's middle of February. End of February, actually. She says, happy to be in the land of the living. Maria, you and me both, girl. Sylvanie Noel is there. Terry Forrest. Hello, Terry. Lawrence Kruthoff, Arthur Langine. Lawrence says, good morning, George. I'm here watching and listening. He's always watching and listening. Richard, hello there, Richard Duncan. Good to see you, Mr. Duncan. Thanks for joining us. Arthur Langine saying good morning from Brooklyn. T.F. Richard says, G now is like snow. It falls and disappears. TF. Spending too much time on the road, aren't you? Bernard Gilbert's there, Donna Charles. Ann Thomas says, good morning. She says, I would like to know about the Chinese plane that came into Grenada on Friday. Well, Ann, you're in the right place, girl, because well, I think so. But we have a segment coming up from about 10:30 this morning where we're going to deal with a lot of that stuff. Some of the stuff you're going to find out this morning will just... Lenroy George is saying, top of the morning, Mr. George. Well, top of the morning to you, Lenroy. Bernard Gilbert saying good morning. Hazel Wilson's also saying good morning. I think that's it for the time being. Oh, hold on. Arthur says, I know one girl who had a sex problem with a government minister. Oh, don't want to hear about that right now. Cecilia Yvonne James is also there with us this morning. All right, folks. All right. Let's take another break here, and then we'll come back with that very quick update for you on the coronavirus.
Grenada, 1795. One man with a sense of destiny.
Tonight we stand our ground. Tonight we stand on the side of history.
14,000 slaves with a dream and a promise. Julian Fedor, a Heritage Theatre production, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, 28th and 29th March, 4th and 5th April at the Trade Center.
People was not made to live like this. It's like we have a cause.
Julian Fedor, an action-packed historical drama.
I see blood falling from the sky, filling up the mountain river, flowing from Belvedere Hills. I see blood.
4 big nights of theater, the play the nation has been waiting to see, with Sam Ogilvy, Lisa Grappy James, Robert White, Dale Devine, and other top-of-the-line acting talents. Opening Saturday, 28th March. Get your tickets now.
One more for the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive.
Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
I'm really, really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
All right, folks, 22 minutes away from the hour. Quick update on the coronavirus. According to the Reuters news agency, coronavirus cases in China, but hold on a sec here. It says, China reported a sharp fall in new deaths and cases of the coronavirus on Saturday. It's yesterday. But World Health officials warned it was too early to make predictions about the outbreak, as new infections continued to rise in other countries. Chinese authorities said the mainland had 397 new confirmed cases on Friday, and that's down from 889 just a day earlier. The numbers surged elsewhere, though, with outbreaks worsening in South Korea, Iran, Italy, and Lebanon. In South Korea, authorities said on Saturday that the number of new infections had doubled to 433 and suggested that the tally could rise significantly as more than 1,000 people who attended a church at the center of the outbreak reported flu-like symptoms. Our biggest concern continues to be the potential for COVID-19 to spread in countries with weaker health systems, said the WHO chief, Tedros at Hanam. The UN agency is calling for $675 million to support most vulnerable countries, he said, adding 13 countries in Africa are seen as a priority because of their links to China. In total, China has reported 75,569 cases to the WHO and 2,239 deaths. The WHO chief said, according to available data, the disease remains mild in 80% of the patients and severe or critical in 20%. The virus has been fatal in 2% of the reported cases. The disease has spread to some 26 countries and territories outside of mainland China, killing more than a dozen people, according to the Reuters news agency tally. All right? That's your little update this morning. And by the way, this was at about midnight last night, so who knows? There probably been some changes in those numbers since. Now, let's forget about a break here, and we're going to move on to the first of our features this morning. All right? How well do you know Franka Bernardine? She has recently done a mini expose, if you will, about herself. This was sent to me a couple of days ago, and I'd like to share that with you this morning. Franka Bernardine.
I'm a Grenadian woman, mother of 5 children. I lived in St. George's, parish of St. George's, with my mom and dad, and I have 3 siblings. We have 4 girls in all. We lived in St. George's, but my grandma is from St. Patrick's and my grandfather from St. Andrews. My grandfather was Clive Alexis. My grandmother was Gertrude Redhead Alexis. And they lived in Grenville, but they also lived in Sauterne. So certainly my early childhood memories are of spending almost every holiday. Dad would pack us up and we'd go up to Grandma Alexis in St. Patrick's. And that would have been in the villa in St. Patrick's, which is where we grew. I attended St. Joseph's Convent, and in those days, St. Joseph's Convent took you from age 5, not before 5, but from 5 right through to 6th form. So I did my primary school also at SJC, junior school, and so I'm a true product of St. Joseph's Convent. And I can remember the many afternoons of walking up. Well, we used to get a ride down in the morning to school at the convent. And that's because my dad worked at the Ministry of Health. He was a doctor, young Grenadian doctor, who had trained overseas and came back. And he used to go down to the Ministry of Health. So if you were on time and ready to leave at 7:30 in the morning, you got a ride down. But we used to have to walk back up at 12 o'clock for lunch, walk back down at 1:45 for school, afternoon school, which ran, as many people would remember, from 1 until 3:30 in the afternoon. Last bell was about 3:15. So that was our daily life, and I have such strong memories of walking up and down Lucas Street. That's why I know every nook and corner of Lucas Street, every shop, what sold what, how you could buy a quick pencil along the way if you lost your pencil and so on. Wonderful memories of walking up. We lived in an area called the Villa and Archibald Avenue. Unlike some of my other fellow Grenadians who went away to study, I came back to work at New Life Organization. I wanted to work where the tire met the road. And in fact, that could make a difference for people, particularly struggling people. It was an eye-opener for me. the kind of odds that sometimes children go through right here in our Grenada to be able to make it to school. In the course of my career, I also worked in the Bahamas and in Barbados, both in education circles, because that was my area of competence, and of opportunities were afforded me there. When I did get back to Grenada, that is the field I went into, and I remember the comments. Well, why would you choose to go to work at NULO when in fact the world is at your fingertips, and so on? But that was my choice, and shortly after, to develop the program for adolescent mothers. I was 5 years at NULO, and then went on to PAM for another 5 years. So that's who, in a nutshell, Franka Bernardine is for that part of my life.
Alrighty, folks. Franka Bernardine, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I imagine that we all know you just a wee bit better now. Pilgrims, very disturbing note just came in here. I'm going to check it out in a little bit more detail. I hope I'll be able to get some more information in a short space of time. But there's a note here that came in on WhatsApp saying that the daughter of sports journalist Michael Bascom was shot in the United States last night. I'm going to try and get to that in just a wee bit, okay? Now, let me see where we go from here, okay? Put that aside for just a minute. 13 minutes away from the hour. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a little break here, and we'll come back after this.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Guar Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Inspection and licensing have begun, and at Hubbard's we want you to be ready. From January to February 15th, we're offering vehicle owners with single registration letters 1 to 2,500 and plural registration letters 1 to 250, 10% off our new torque tires and Power Max batteries. Don't get caught unprepared. Visit us today at our motor department in Mungay or our tire bay in Grandance, located near Hubbard's Building Supplies.
All right. The next lady in the limelight this morning is our very own Margaret Francis, as she continues to commemorate Black History Month with her mini-series, Black Makers of History. Today, she takes a look at one of our very own, Dr. KENRICK Lewis. And you're about to learn some stuff about this man I bet you never even knew. Here we go.
Celebrating Black Makers of History. Today's Black Maker of History is Dr. KENRICK Lewis. Dr. KENRICK Lewis is a Grenadian scientist who has made significant contributions to the development of silicones and polyurethanes. Through his research on silicones, Dr. Lewis has greatly advanced understanding of the synthesis and performance of silicones in products ranging from consumer electronics and cosmetics to plumbing and personal care. His study of polyurethanes yielded a mathematical model that determines the exact cell size needed to achieve the ideal level of comfort in foam products like car seats, couches, and cushions. Lewis's love of science started as a child growing up in Guar of St. John. He attended the Grenada Boys Secondary School before traveling to North America, where he earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry from the University of Alberta and a doctoral degree in organic chemistry from the University of Massachusetts. Dr. Lewis has more than 100 publications, presentations, and patents. He also serves on review panels for the National Science Foundation in the United States. Dr. Lewis is the winner of multiple awards and honors, including most recently Westchester Chemical Society 2015 Distinguished Scientist Award. He was also named as a key contributor to his company's Kirkpatrick Award for Chemical Process Innovation in 1999. Since 1991, Dr. Lewis has sponsored a scholarship for the student from the parish of St. John with the highest scores in the annual CPEA exam, celebrating Dr. KENRICK Lewis, distinguished scientist and Caribbean icon.
See some of the things you learn on this program and on Good Day Grenada? That, folks, is why I just want to say thank you to the people who make it possible. In addition to those of you watching and listening right now, this kind of stuff could not be made possible to you without the help of our sponsors. And that's why I do urge that you patronize these people. People like Hubbard's, GrenadaBroadcast, Grenada Cooperative Bank, Grenada Market. Yeah. These people see the value of an educated Grenada. Yeah? Yeah. And despite all the odds, they've been with us. I mean, some of these guys have been with us for 15 years. Remember, we just started our 16th year. At the start of this month, we began our 16th year doing this program. Some of these folks have been with us from day one. Yeah. My hat's off to you, folks. And not just from me, not just my hat, but the hats of the Grenadian people. Shows what good corporate citizenship is all about. Thank you all, and God bless you. Now, today's inspirational comes to you from someone by the name of Guar, G-U-A-R, Gopal, G-O-P-A-L, Das. Let me ask you this. What are the things which matter most to you? Wealth? Money? If you answered either of these, sad to say, you're probably among the poorest persons on this planet. Take a moment and watch this little piece that I'm about to share with you. You'll understand what I mean. Don't compromise.
Whether you drive a Volkswagen or you drive a Bentley, the road remains the same, doesn't it? Whether you speak on a Samsung or you speak on an iPhone X, whoever you're calling remains the same, isn't it? Whether you're flying economy or you're flying business, the destination where you're heading remains the same, isn't it? Whether you're wearing a simple fast track or you wear an Omega or a Rolex, the time remains the same, isn't it? It's quite amazing how we work ourselves up so much with increasing the standard of living that we forget to increase the standard of our life. And which is why wherever I travel, I make an appeal to people. There's nothing wrong with an Omega. There's nothing wrong with a Bentley. God bless you with that, and if you have it, drive it, no problem. But in trying to enhance and increase and improvise the standard of your living, please, do not compromise with the standard of your life. It's not the standard of your living that makes you happy. It's the standard of your life that makes you happy. And very often, we forget to give attention to those things that can truly make us happy. Which is why I always say things that I'm talking about, they have utility value, right? Not happiness value. Travel business class or first class. Travel, no problem. Drive a Bentley, no problem. But in doing so, never, ever compromise on those principles that also improve the standard of your life. And therefore, I always say, some people are so poor, so absolutely poor that all they have is money. That's all they have. That's all they have. I consider that life a poverty-stricken life. If all you have is money, you're the poorest person in the world. Because there's more to life than money. And there's way more to life than what money can buy. And therefore I many times say, if you want to truly know how rich you are, drop a tear and see how many hands come forth to wipe that tear. Ladies and gentlemen, our happiness and our increased standard of life is not in things, it's in people. It's relationships. It's meaningful, heartfelt, deep bondings of love that bring fulfillment to the heart. It's those meaningful exchanges of love that we share with each other in relationships that brings true joy to the heart. And isn't it the greatest irony? It's something that brings in the greatest fulfillment we very conveniently neglect in just running after increasing and enhancing our standard of living.
Okie dokie, folks. Okie dokie. We've just run through a whole large chunk of our features for this morning. But hey, best is yet to come. Hang in there. I have just checked that WhatsApp that came in from George Worm just a few minutes ago on WhatsApp. Yeah, in Buffalo last night, apparently Micah Bascom, that's the daughter of sports journalist Michael Bascom, was shot. A bullet apparently grazed her head, and she's currently in the ICU of one of the hospitals in Buffalo. That's all I have at this point in time. I do ask that you keep both Micah and her dad in your prayers, and her family actually, and pray that everything works out just fine, okay? All right, I'm gonna take a little break here, and then we will return with a segment from Thursday's edition of GUDDAY Grenada. Guess who? Yeah, man. AB.
Grenada, 1795. One man with a sense of destiny.
Tonight we stand our ground. Tonight we stand on the side of history.
14,000 slaves with a dream and a promise. Julian Fedor, a Heritage Theatre production, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, 28th and 29th March, 4th and 5th April at the Trade Center.
People was not made to live like this. It's like we have a cause.
Julian Fedor, an action-packed historical drama.
I see blood falling from the sky, filling up the mountain river, flowing from Belvedere Hills. I see blood.
4 big nights of theater, the play the nation has been waiting to see, with Sam Ogilvy, Lisa Grappy James, Robert White, Dale Devine, and other top-of-the-line acting talents. Opening Saturday, 28th March. Get your tickets now.
One more for the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive.
Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
Look, I'm really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
All right, folks, just before I get to Allan, I don't want to leave you guys out, so let's take a quick look, see what's going on here. Ryan Jaban says, the philosophy of Gopal Das. Yep, there is more to life than money. Relationships do matter. At least one person recognizes that. I hope you do too. He also says that our prayers for Micah and family. Thank you. I'm sure that they would appreciate that. John Franco says, so true. Life is for living. Absolutely. Hello, Nicole Kishinama. Nicole is there this morning. Ali Anthony Dowden. Hello, Mr. Dowden. Nice to see you. Anthony Howard says, it's always nice hearing about the achievements of my fellow countrymen. Don't understand how they are not recognized during our independence celebrations and other national events. Yeah, he's talking about that piece that Margaret did a little while ago, Black Makers of History, KENRICK Lewis. And finally, there's a note here from Ernesto. He says, I would like to get this off my chest. It's unbelievable to know that the Minister of Sports is from Carriacou, and for years, Bishop College has been asking for a high jump pole to compete in their sports meet, and the ministry has failed to give it to them. Something as simple as a high jump pole, while part of the building institution structure is falling apart. Unbelievable. Ernesto, if it's such a simple thing as a high jump pole, why does it have to be a government? I'm not saying the government should not provide, Ernesto, but geez, you can't expect the government to give every tissue, every piece of chewing gum. People in the community. A high jump pole? Ernesto, get real. Get real. I'm not defending the government, okay? I'm just being realistic. Okay, so they want a high jump pole. Somebody else wants a pair of sneakers. Is the government responsible for that? Please, please, please. Pilgrims, now, Thursday mornings, Allan joins us on GUDDAY Grenada. And this past week was no exception. I really enjoy those segments because he thinks a lot about what he sees and hears. And when he sits here and does his dissertation, he makes you think. He makes you think. And that's good for Grenada, because a lot of people in this place today seem to be brain dead. But Allan makes you think, and I do appreciate that. This past week, I should say, he dealt with the lingering issue pertaining to GrenadaBroadcast. He also talked about CARICOM's decision. You're going to find out a bit about that a little later on. CARICOM's decision to throw its support behind Patricia Scotland, Baroness Patricia Scotland, to be reappointed as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, and a number of other issues. So, without further ado, where is, there is Mr. Bierzynski. Check this out. All righty, folks, there he is, Mr. Allan Bierzynski. Good morning to you, Mr. B.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well.
You're
Yourself?
very well. I guess you were trying to give me one of those Fred Sanford's hat-a-tat, huh? I mean,
Oh, the big one, baby?
Pardon me?
You're getting the big one, baby?
Yes, I'm getting. I was getting the big one, but I didn't see you because it's very unlike you, Mr. B, to be even a minute or two late. I mean, you're usually early. So, anyhow, good to see you, sir. Mr. B, let me give you a little heads up. There's something I'm going to throw at you a little later on in this conversation, but I don't want to waste any time. So you go first. And by the way, your internet this morning is, we're seeing you and we're hearing you, but you're a little bit jerky. I'm not being rude. I'm just saying your internet's a little bit jerky. So, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be. Nevertheless, we have been privy to the events in the United States over the last 3 years or so, where it does appear that the current administration is consumed by the decisions taken by the previous administration, and it seems that every few weeks or so there is a repeal or change or a reversal of some policy done during the Obama years. It seems not to have any logical foundation. It appears, on the face of it, anything that the previous administration did, for good or for ill, it's going to be reversed, changed, thrown out. And it got me thinking, as I am sure you will understand, as to what is the reason for this long-standing battle against GrenLec, which has been the feature of this administration all the time it has been in office. We know that the privatization of GrenLec took place during a previous administration, where a failing state-owned enterprise which was incapable of delivering quality service in any regard to the long-suffering consumers of this country. In like manner, we have a failing state-owned enterprise called the Grenada National Marketing Reporting Board, which up to yesterday we were told is going through an financial situation and is engaged in litigation. There is a court matter. The current chairman of that failing state-owned enterprise has long experience in chairing other state-owned enterprises, but he failed to indicate what is the nature of the court case that that state-owned enterprise is currently involved in, or what are the circumstances which led to its current unstable financial situation. Well, since he has chosen not to disclose these salient facts, one is left to speculate. I am not a subscriber to unfounded speculation, so therefore I will go back to the report of the Royal Commission of Inquiry, which dealt with the activities of a certain cabal. The names are in the report. Several of them are still alive and still get recirculated into positions of authority. But nevertheless, the foundation of the failings of these state-owned enterprises, as in common in all autocratic situations, is that people who are not necessarily qualified for the position, except by reason of loyalty to a ruling political leader, are placed into positions, and because they are frequently incompetent and from time to time found to be corrupt, use their positions to enrich themselves until such time as they are found out, and then a commission of inquiry is announced. Now, with regard to GRENADA is measured by its peers in the region. An association called KENRICK, which I'm sure most people have heard of. And so, by any benchmark, GRENADA is in the top tier of electricity suppliers, both generation and transmission and distribution. I think I may have made the point on this program before that Antigua, as usual, is a special case where the generating of electricity is done by a company owned by one individual with a well-known family name from an Eastern Mediterranean background. Transmission and distribution is the responsibility of government, because that is where you get expenses and not revenue, except from the person who generates the electricity, who sells it to you, and you have to find a way to recover. So it doesn't work very well in Antigua. And so by far, GRENADA is a world-class provider, not just in the region, but world-class provider. Now, with regard to Barbados, which we have been told was a well-run society, well-ordered and very civilized because of their long-standing British tradition, and they have not had a history of foolishness as we have had in certain other CARICOM territories. You can talk to Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago as examples of corrupt states where individuals have become very wealthy by diverting state resources for personal gain. So the bottom fell out in Barbados, and last, I think October or whenever it was, we were treated to the spectacle of Barbados experiencing power shortages, widespread load shedding, accusations being leveled far and wide about mismanagement of the state-owned enterprise Barbados Light and Power. We, on the other hand, since privatization, have not only benefited from a regular and well-regulated supply of electricity, but the shareholders of GRENADA, the shares of which are quoted on the regional stock exchange in the OECS, after the initial period of reorganization, recapitalization, and re-engineering, as it were, have benefited from a steady stream of investment returns. 21% of that investment is held by the government and the National Insurance Board. I repeat that it is important to note the investment of the National Insurance Board, which is required, it is mandated, it is essential for the National Insurance Board to have secure long-term investments so that they will be able to discharge their responsibilities to the contributors. That is, to provide for the benefits. So, you ask yourself the question, why would anybody try to interfere with such an investment? And who is anybody, as we've spoken about before? The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, which has embarked a process which, it appears, is questionable. And I say questionable because of the inadequacies and inconsistencies in the consultative process to which I have made previous reference. As recently as last week, when I tore up a page in the draft that they have produced for the licensing arrangement, which prescribes that all shares of GrenLec held by private persons shall be irrevocably transferred to the government of Grenada free of charge at the end of the license term. And after I read that twice last week, I tore up the piece of paper because that is what it deserves. But more importantly, it is the consultative process that prescribed in the guidelines of the said Public Utilities Regulatory Commission that have been signally absent from the public domain. Why has the consultative process that they have prescribed not been followed? What is it that they are hiding? What is this vendetta? It appears to me, so don't try to sue me, it appears to me as a vendetta, that the government is engaged in against GrenLec, a company in which they own 21%. Well, I have to speculate that if I go back in history, at the time when it was a state-owned and failing state-owned enterprise, which is what led to its privatization, a cabal was involved in inefficient procurement practices, many of which are the subject of the report of the Royal Commission of Inquiry. Members of that cabal are still around. Perhaps it is that they wish to return to those days and to return to a form of government or administration known as a kakistocracy. If you look it up, you will see that a kakistocracy is a system of government where the least qualified, the most inefficient, and the most loyal are placed into positions of absolutely predictable catastrophic results. And I'm done.
Yes, AB, and you're done just in time because in the last couple moments there, we really started to have a cracked up internet, if you will. But I'm going to take this liberty to ask you this question. You're puzzled about or by the attitude towards GrenLec. I'm hearing talk on the street, and I have to keep bringing this up because it seems like every day this week I've heard this talk, that GrenLec, it appears, is about to be taken over by the Chinese. Have you heard anything to that effect, sir?
Well, again, I will have to say that the shares of 29 of which are owned by individuals, another 21% by the government and the NIS between them, are traded on the OECS stock exchange. So I don't know how legally over of GrenLec by any entity take place. So they're welcome to try that because it will end up in court. Remember, on the last two occasions that the government has passed legislation concerning GrenLec, the matter has been challenged in court and the government has lost both times.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now wasn't it last week you mentioned something about you having reviewed some documents put out by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission suggesting that the small shareholders in GrenLec may be required to turn their shares over to GrenLec? Did you, or did I misinterpret you?
That is what I referred to when I said that. That is what I tore up on your program last week.
Okay. All right, AB. Now, so much for GrenLec. Last week, you made some comments here about You had a lady by the name of Patricia Scotland. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Bierzynski, over the past couple of days, yesterday actually, I came across a video which I would like you to take a look at. As you know, she attended the CARICOM summit this week, and she was captured posing with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, and with the Prime Minister himself, made some very, very powerful statements in support of her reappointment as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth.
Allow me to play that for you, sir.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the rest of the Caribbean community overwhelmingly support Baroness Scotland to continue as Secretary General of the Commonwealth. We think that the attempts to hunt her out are entirely unacceptable, and that those who are doing so must cease it. It's unbecoming. And I look forward very much to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali in June, where I'm very confident that she will be re-elected to serve as Secretary General of the Commonwealth for a second term.
Mr. Bierzynski, you heard, you saw, not only the words, but the little hug and everything. What say you, sir?
I think it is the Prime Minister should have his arm around Baroness Scotland.
Okay, say that again,
but
sir.
Then
because
he
again,
has a history.
Hold on, Amy. Hold on. You're really breaking up. You're really breaking up this morning. Beautiful picture, but your audio is breaking up. So say that again slowly.
Okay, I'll go slowly. I think it is unbecoming the Prime Minister of St. Vincent should have his arm around Baroness Scotland in that manner. I think it is also a distraction and a distortion of the facts for him to suggest that Scotland is being hounded out by anyone. The reality is that the external auditors have found instances of poor performance, if wrongdoing, with regard to procurement practices in 50 separate instances since she took office, the most egregious of which is the awarding of a contract to a company headed by a friend of hers. In my view, we ought not to be supporting this type of behavior. Was that clear enough for you?
Yes, sir. It was clear enough for me. Mr. B, thank you very much, sir. I'm going to keep our conversation tonight, this morning, very brief, because there is some construction work which has just begun outside there, and I get this feeling that all hell is about to break loose. But I just want to share very briefly with you some comments that have been coming in on social media. Arthur Lankine says, good information, Brother A.B. He says, now he's a minister in the failing government. That's referring to a comment you made earlier on. And he says he's also been hearing that on the streets about GrenadaBroadcast and China. Antheorello says, Mr. B, your delivery is always informative and on point. Thank you. And finally, I think you really impressed Ryan Jaban out there in Florida. He says, cacistocracy indeed. Yeah, you pinched a nerve there. So, AB,
However, before you go, I would like to recommend that individuals, because I made this point before, who wish to inform themselves with regard to what the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission is trying to do, can go to the website www.mgovernance.net/publications. It is very likely that many people are not aware of where these documents are because the PURC has not been publicizing it. And really, it's not just for shareholders of GrenLec, it is for all consumers, the 38,000 plus consumers of electricity should have an opportunity to see what these proposed regulations are all about and to inform themselves and to respond, because there is provision for response outlined in the it's called an invitation to stakeholders. It's not just shareholders, to stakeholders. And as I say, I don't think we ought to give too much credence to this takeover by the Chinese.
Okay.
Even though we may consider from time to time that the behavior of certain is akin to those cases, still have an independent judiciary at the level of the OECS Supreme Court.
Okay. All right, sir. Once again, as I said, you're breaking up really, really badly, so I'm going to wrap it up here by saying thank you, A.B. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Okay, bye now.
All right. Break time. There he goes, or I should say there he went. That was, just want to remind you, that was done on Thursday morning of this past week. Mr. Allan Bierzynski speaking with us on Good Day Grenada. For those of you who have not joined us on weekday programs, be sure, put a little note there, join us. And by the way, you've noticed that on Facebook now, anytime we have a program coming up here live, a note is sent to Facebook, and Facebook sends that note out to you saying, George is going to be live at so-and-so time, all right? So please bear that in mind. Now, let me take a look. Ooh, yaman. Let me take a look and see what's been going on out there. Yeah. Scroll back a little bit. T.F. Richard says, you have to be politically aligned to be recognized in this country. I guess he means Grenada because he's in the United States. Okay, so that's what he means. Maria St. Bernard says, I was told that there's no Black History celebrations in Grenada. If this is not correct, please tell me where they are being held. Thank you. Mags, I hope you can answer that question for Maria when you get on. Anthony Howard. Anthony says, George, a high jump pole is the responsibility of government. There are guidelines by the various athletic associations that those poles must conform to, and as such, it should be sourced by a reputable organization. And in most instances, that's government. Well, Anthony, one, you said in most instances that should be government. Okay, so we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that in most instances. Anthony, I am not sure that any government will be able to meet every request that is made. I'm not saying government should not provide that pull, okay? However, Anthony, the bottom line is, if even the private sector per se were going to source a pull for the school, yes, they would have to be clear and specific in the requirements for that pull. Huh? I don't know. I don't want to get into that. He says here, don't want our athletes to break a record and then be told that the pole doesn't meet the specs. I agree. Totally agree with you. But who is to say that the specs are to be known only by government? Government can tell the private sector, hey, listen, help them guys with a pole, okay? These are the specs. So much for that. Good morning, Alistair Monroe, Lydia James, Ray Charles, Ashton Fletcher, Ronnie Gittins, Emerald Harris, Gemma Monica Hunt, Dolores Hazard, Kennedy Roberts, Zia Rahaman, Adrian Hayes, Petra Grant. Good morning to all of you. Petra Grant says, hey, Uncle George, you're looking good. I don't believe it's the Petra that I know. Wait. The Petra that I know? Hello, Petra. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. All right. Let me take a look and see. Margaret, are you there? I see Margaret. Yes, I see Margaret. And don't say anything, Margaret, because I'm not going to hear you, but I'm seeing you. Just give me a big smile, and I'll know that, yeah, there she goes. Orty, hi, Max. A little while ago, I saw Beverley. Beverley is also there. I've been sent a WhatsApp, I sent a WhatsApp by Jerry George. Jerry is going to be joining us, but he's going to be a little bit late. And while you were watching Allan, I was speaking to Athy Martin. Athy's out there in Dominica, and Athy's doing a little farming, but he's going to join us as soon as he can. Right now, I don't see Bev anymore, but I did see her a little while ago setting up her camera and showing us her living room of her mansion. There she is. Yeah, there she is. Well, Bev, just wave so that I know everything's okay. Yeah, there she goes, waving. You guys don't believe me? Take a look. See? There they
Hi, Max.
Hey, Bev. Morning.
You guys are going to have to hold on a minute. Just don't go getting frozen, okay? Because I'm going to get back to you guys in just a wee bit. All right, I just wanted them to know. Now, here's a note. Logged on, have small pic on screen. So says Arthi. Well, Arthi, I don't know where you're logged on to, but we're not seeing you. So I suggest that you just try that routine again, and hopefully we shall see thee. I don't see Arthi. Don't see Arthi. Okay, so we're just gonna put him aside for a little bit. I think that's it. Just let me take another look at social media here. Margaret Redhead Fletcher is also there, and Victor Phillip. Nice to see you guys. Okay, take a little break.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And GrenadaBroadcast is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GrenadaBroadcast, energizing our Grenada.
All right, my dear friends, it's now, let's see here, 22 minutes away from 11 o'clock. Now, the reason why we're doing this next segment is because of the following article, which appeared in the New Today, on the New Today's website on Friday. It is captioned, Chinese plane lands at Maurice Bishop International Airport. All right? And for some reason, my teleprompter has simply frozen. So I'm going to read off my PC here. You're seeing me, so that's okay. Let me quote the article which appeared in the New Today. The New Today can confirm that a plane carrying a small amount of Chinese nationals landed at the Maurice Bishop International Airport in the wee hours of Friday morning. Well-placed sources told this newspaper that ex-policeman Frederick Bala Noel, the former chief bodyguard of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, was seen at the airport picking up the arriving Chinese nationals. When contacted, Noel admitted that he did pick up the Chinese from the plane, but declined to say where he took them on the grounds of security. The New Today spoke with the acting chief medical officer in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Francis Martin, who said that there was no need, who said that he was unaware of the Chinese entering Grenada, and he gave an undertaking to look into the matter. The Keith Mitchell-led New National Party administration has joined other member governments within the CARICOM community in imposing travel bans direct from mainland China. In addition, government has moved to quarantine for 14 days all returning nationals from China. Dr. Martin said that he would have to look into the information provided to him to ascertain whether the latest batch of Chinese came directly from China or another country. Within an hour, Dr. Martin called to say that he had looked into the matter and was satisfied that the people who came on the plane did not pose any threat to Grenada. When asked if the passengers on board the plane were arriving Chinese nationals, the CMO was rather evasive and would not confirm or deny. Dr. Martin reiterated that the passengers did not pose any health risks to Grenadians and suggested that the New Today contact the operations manager at the Maurice Bishop International Airport to get more particulars about the arriving plane. This newspaper was not successful in reaching the senior MBIA official through a message, although a message was left with her office. About 3 weeks ago, Grenadians expressed grave concerns when news broke that a Chinese plane had arrived at MBIA carrying a number of Chinese businessmen. The New Today cannot confirm whether it was the same plane with Chinese businessmen that came into the country 3 weeks ago. The Ministry of Health statement issued on February 2nd said that there will be new entry restrictions for individuals traveling from China due to the ongoing coronavirus, COVID-19. Any non-national who has a travel history to mainland China within the past 14 days, either originating or in transit, will not be allowed entry at any airport. All nationals with similar travel history will be placed under a 14-day quarantine as a precaution. As of Sunday, February 9th, no cases of coronavirus have been confirmed in Grenada. It is unclear how long the new entry restrictions will remain in place. As I mentioned to you, that is the text of an article which appeared on the New Today's website on Friday, and that is what has given rise to us sitting here today to have this little chat. Now, when I saw this, I thought, interesting, but I have a responsibility to try and verify things, okay? I tried. I called the airport to speak to let's see here, what's your name? The manager, general manager of the airport, Wendy Williams. I left a voicemail in her office administration asking that my call be returned. That was on Friday afternoon. I still have not heard from her. Okay? I also called the acting commissioner of police, Edwin Martin. I called his cell phone. I got a voice recording with his voice asking to leave a message. I did. That was on Friday afternoon. I still have not received a phone call, nor a text, nor an email, nor a love letter, nothing. Yesterday, I called the acting chief medical officer. I left, again, I got his voicemail. I left a message. I still have not heard from him. Okay. Now, on Friday evening, those of you who watch the evening news on GBN, the Grenada Broadcasting Network, I know that you saw a piece which was actually a rebuttal from the chief medical officer denying that an aircraft had landed with Chinese on board, and that was supposedly around 1 o'clock in the morning. I wanted, and by the way, I saw that, and actually just seconds after that piece was aired on GBN, people started posting on my WhatsApp forum that they had seen it, you know, saying that, look, what this article says, the CMO is denying that. He's rebutting that. So I decided I wanted to show you so you could see and hear for yourself. My friends, I and a colleague pursued, or perused, I should say, the GBN Facebook page, which routinely has their newscast. They reach out to the world every night, 7 o'clock. But we could not find a trace of that program. So I decided, okay, I know that they also send their stuff up to YouTube. So I decided to go to YouTube. And yes, I did come across that newscast on YouTube. However, the story in which Dr. Martin denied the arrival of an aircraft with Chinese on board was nowhere to be found on that channel, in that broadcast. Even though the news anchor could be seen, I'll show you that in a minute, could be seen introducing the story as he did the rundown for the newscast, and again, making mention of it at the end of the newscast. Folks, I know it's kind of hard to believe what I'm telling you, so let me show you, okay? Again, this is a clip from Friday evening's edition of the GBN News. You're about to watch the anchor introducing the newscast, giving you the rundown, what you're going to be seeing during that hour, including the fact that there was the denial from the chief medical officer. Check it out.
Good evening. This is the GBN TV News. This time around, of course, for Friday, the 21st of February. And coming up, Chief Medical Officer denies reports of flight from China. Fifth person released from quarantine. Bus drivers charged for violating modern air road travel signs. Coming up in sport, Grenada makes it 2 wins out of 2 matches in the CONCACAF Under-20 qualifiers.
You saw it? You heard it. if you were watching, by the way, you can go to the YouTube channel and look for the GBN news of Friday 21st. You'll see that. You'll see that. What you won't see is the denial, which they played that night. I saw it. Everybody else saw it. Towards the end of that newscast, this is what the anchor had to say.
And in that recap of tonight's major stories, Chief Medical Officer denies reports of a flight from China. Fifth person released from quarantine. Grenadians in Carriacou and in Trinidad get ready for the big stages for Carnival 2020.
Okay? Go look. Don't take my word. Go look for it yourself. Go look. Now, at this point, I'm going to bring in Beverley. Beverley Sinclair. Let's take a look. There she is on the phone. Who are you talking to on the phone, Beverley? Who are you talking to on the phone there, Beverley?
I've been on the phone with Ati because Ati is trying very hard to get in and he's having some problems.
Okay, Arthur is having some trouble getting on to us. And by the way, I did speak with Jerry, well, by WhatsApp, and Jerry said that he's going to be a little bit late getting on here.
Yes,
Beverley, good morning to you. And Margaret, good morning to you as well. You're in the Big Apple. I know that I'm infringing on your plans for today, but I'm delighted that you were able to join us.
Hi,
how are you?
Morning. I'm good. I'm good.
You're good. You're
Just
good.
listening with
Big
interest.
smile as always.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me start. Well, okay. Bev is talking to Arthi. Arthi is having some trouble getting on. Okay, Bev, you can talk to us now.
Yes, because I really don't know what else to tell Ati to do. Your new software is not a software that I'm very familiar with. So I was just walking him through the steps that I went through, which seems to be the steps he's following, but somehow he's not connecting with the broadcast.
Okay, you know, I find that weird because I spoke with RT yesterday. We set it up, and I mean, the guy looks so darn good. I couldn't wait to see what he looks like on a Sunday morning compared to what he looked like on a Saturday.
Yes, he told me that you walked him through yesterday and it worked. So I don't know. I really don't know. I hope he gets on.
All right.
Yeah, I really hope he does. Cause
now, Bev, you heard me read that piece from the New Today. I'm going to ask you and Margaret to give me your guys' thoughts on what you heard and what has been developing. I mean, the mysterious disappearance of that particular clip from a newscast. Start with you, Bev.
Okay, well, when I read something in the newspaper, especially something which was written the way as that story was, with comments from officials or officials who refused to comment, and you know, the story, it's not just a piece which seems to be written off the top of somebody's head. It sounds like someone took the time to try and verify whether or not the information was true. So when I read a story which is written like that, I am inclined to believe the story, except something really blows it out of the water and then you're left to wonder, so why would someone speak to someone about a story and then you know, just go back and deny something? Because so I am inclined to believe what the story says. Then when I heard, I did not hear the story myself, but I heard that the CMO was on GBN News denying that anything happened. So because the news is online and I usually watch it at my leisure, I went to look for the story and I can't find it. I went on GBN's Facebook page and none of the news from Friday was uploaded. And then when I went to their YouTube page, the news was there, but the entire first segment of the news where that story would have been is cut out. And I know it's cut out. I work in television production and it was not a clean cut. It was chopped out. So whoever edited the story just took it out and uploaded back the story to YouTube. I am not, of course, I'm not imputing any motive to GBN. There are 1,000,001 reasons why they could have cut out that first segment of the story. But I don't believe for something as important as that, it should have been cut out. The fact that it was aired, it meant that they should have had it saved somewhere. It would have been impossible for them to have the rest of the newscast saved. And that first segment alone just disappeared. And it's not, and I tell you, I can see it. It was cut. I don't know why it was cut, but the fact that it's not there raises a lot of questions. You know? There is nothing, there is no apology, nothing attached to the newscast to say, well, viewers, we had some technical difficulty, we had to do some adjustment, no explanation at all. You're watching the news, you see the headlines, and then you jump to the second segment of the news, no first segment. Why? I think GBN should explain to us what happened there, because we do follow your news on the various platforms that we can see it. So it raises questions, and as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to refute the story which is in the newspaper, which right now there is nothing. Then I believe the story which is in the newspaper.
Yeah, George, I too agree with what Beverley has said. I did go online as well and looked for the newscast both on Facebook and on YouTube. And as Beverley rightly said too, normally it comes up on my feed. Even if I don't use it, it's normally on my feed because I follow them. It was not on my feed. There was absolutely no newscast for Friday night on Facebook. And then too, the same thing with YouTube. There was that cut, you could see it. In fact, I even commented to George earlier about, they ran like about 10 minutes of commercials in that space between where you heard the headlines and when they got to the first story. So, and then to the end. I don't think something like that helps you consider the level of paranoia and hysteria that is out there regarding this virus. And when you do stuff like that, it only helps to feed that. And I think that GBN and the authorities owe Grenadian explanation as to what happened and the truth about what and who did that to me.
You know, the part that really bothers me, folks, is that the media is often criticized. We come under a lot of fire for not doing our homework, and the favorite phrase that everybody likes to use is investigative reporting. And there we are trying to report and not getting the cooperation. And as it sits here today, we're all sitting here in the dark, not knowing what the heck happened. So you can understand why the public would be obviously concerned.
But of course, the public needs to be concerned. It's a matter of life and death. So we have to be concerned. You know, I heard a report out of Iran just this morning, early this morning. Were infecting the country, and they had some deaths related to the COVID-19, and it's only after these people died it was revealed that they have infections in the country. It's a matter of life and death. People need to know exactly what is going on. And our authorities are playing fast and loose with this thing. Where other countries are being serious about travel restrictions and travel ban, our authorities have said, the Minister of Tourism and Civil Aviation has said, instituting travel bans will not do anything in preventing the virus from coming into the country. How can you make careless statements like those as someone who sits in a ministerial position, someone who is a member of parliament who represents an entire constituent? So what you're telling your constituents and the country on a whole is that we do not have to institute any travel bans because it's not going to do anything in preventing the virus coming into the country. That is very, very careless.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that they would say that. Yes, you may not be able to, because there's so much that is not known about this virus and how it is spread, and then you can have somebody who comes in showing no symptoms and you don't know. So sure, there's a possibility that somebody could come in with the virus without you knowing. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't put the necessary measures in place to check and make sure that, you know, people are protected from entry. I mean, you do the best that you can, and the things that you can't control, well, you just can't control those. But what you can control, you should exercise control on that. And as you mentioned, Iran had 8 deaths, and I think they were like 43 people they were reporting that tested positive. And what they basically did too was just close the schools in those areas where they had the outbreak. And then you have their neighbors close their doors as well. Pakistan and Turkey said, you know what, you got infections, our gates are closed. Simple as that.
South Korea, Republic of China and Taiwan, Japan, all of these countries have put strict restrictions on their borders. And we are here making comments like that is not going to do anything to prevent virus coming in, and allowing these clandestine landings and takeoff and coming out and denying it without actually speaking to the people. I believe the authorities in this country, the people who sit in cabinet and other people in positions of authority in Grenada, they owe the country an explanation. They need to come out and let people know what is happening, because this is not about them and whatever secrets they have that they're trying to keep secret. This is about the life and health and welfare of the people in the country. And I don't know about anybody else, you know, but I care about my life. You have families, you have children, you have people going about the country every day who are going to be exposed if there are people here who come in with some kind of infections. Whether it's COVID-19 or some other kind of virus, people are being exposed. And what do you do as people in authority? A story comes out in the newspaper, the CMO comes out and denies it, and then all of a sudden, the one story, one interview that he did has disappeared from the internet. Can't find it anywhere. And we are just supposed to accept that we did not have any plain land. We're just supposed to accept it because somebody said so.
Exactly. Does not help. Which does not help, again, as I say, with making people feel safe and comfortable. I mean, even the Chinese, right? Even the Chinese have admitted that they made mistakes in handling the situation in the beginning, and also with the flow of information. So, I mean, if they can admit that they have made mistakes, why do you think you wouldn't make mistakes too? Not only that, the concern is not so much about countries like the United States. The concern are for countries like Grenada, like countries in Africa, where they do not have strong health systems. That is where the fear is. And you know what? Look at the geography. It's in Iran. You know where? How difficult you think it is to travel from there to hop, skip, jump over to Africa? Look at the geography of where it is. That's another thing that people, you may make some say, well, in the Caribbean, kind of like little islands or whatever. That's land crossings. You just cross over the border and you're in the next space. So there's a real concern, because in a lot of these places, their health systems are pretty much like ours, very weak.
you know. And of course, we know even if you had a flu vaccine, that is absolutely zero protection against COVID-19, nothing. And we are in this stage now where we're talking about prevention. And while we're talking about prevention, we're playing fast and loose at the borders. The Grenadian students that have come in, they've had to be quarantined for 14 days at least. But we have other people coming in directly from the same area. And we don't bother to quarantine them. We just let them into the country to go and mingle with people. And they are mingling with people that even when they leave, if they came and leave all of us at risk, and the authorities. Hi.
Bev, just hold on a sec. We've been joined by Jerry George now in St. Vincent. Jerry, you've been listening to the conversation that's been going on there?
Yes, I've been listening to the conversation, definitely.
Okay. Jerry,
I wasn't sure if you'd hear me,
I'm
but
not
it
hearing
seems
you,
that you
but I
are.
think our listeners are. Did you have a chance to see the article that appeared in the New Today newspaper?
Yeah, when I saw it, I was actually quite stunned at it, quite frankly speaking, because I thought that we had gone past, especially seeing that Grenada was the first country that had this issue about an aircraft landing early in the morning and all the rest of it. I really thought that we had gone past that. The fact that I was seeing it happening again kind of just stunned me, really.
Sorry, Jerry, I missed the
Hello?
last thing you said.
You hear me, George?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm saying I saw that, and the fact that I was seeing it again just made me very concerned, because in my mind to be going this way anymore. We just should not be doing it any further. My fear in the region, because we have had some similar kinds of things in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In fact, yesterday morning, got up, listening to the news, and here was a press release being put out by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as it relates to a health matter. And I'm going like, really now? By the end of the day, the Ministry of Health was putting out its own release. and to some degree, as far as I'm concerned, almost contradicting something that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs put out. And I'm saying, why should this foolishness? But what is coming clear to me is that when it comes to all of these issues, what drives the people in authority is politics. Everybody sees all of these things from a political perspective. How the party is going to look, how the leader is going to look. The most important thing, which is the health and well-being of the nation as a whole, that is subsumed by this political want to be right, this politically correct desire. And that is our biggest region. As long as our leadership and our government start to think that the most important thing to them is the sanity of their political endeavors, we are exposed to real issues.
Beverley?
I don't think they're going.
Okay.
I go back to what I said a few minutes ago, George. The authorities owe the country an explanation. If no flight landed, they need to come out and let us know in no uncertain terms that no flight landed and this is the situation. They need to do that. They cannot be hiding behind some statement you put out, which is removed from the internet a few minutes after it is put out there. And just because it's put out there, we are supposed to accept that and say, oh, this story which was published in the newspaper is not true. I am not inclined to do that at all. That is a little bit too frivolous. The authorities owe us an explanation, and the explanation has to go beyond coming out and bashing social media and bashing other people from taking false information. Because most of the time, the last two press conferences I've listened to with health officials, They spend a lot of time talking about all the fake news, so-called, which is out there. They don't spend a lot of time telling people what is being done and how they are ensuring that the nation is being kept safe, or at least that we are doing every single thing we can to prevent the entry of the virus, because that is the tipping point. You don't want it to get in.
Jerry,
because if it...
Listen to me. Democracy has its problems. Freedom of speech has its problems. But when you see what is happening in Iran today, when you see what happened in China today, I prefer to err on the side that democracy allows us to err on. Because in Iran, they hid it from the people. The people are writing this morning. Who caused the alarm and fear? Is it the people or the government? And what they're trying to do in these islands is to do exactly that, is to stifle free expression of what is happening. But free expression, if they give the people the news and they straight up, there'll be nothing to worry about. Last week, St. Vincent, at this time, St. Vincent last week was in a state of uproar. You know why? 3 Chinese entered the country. And I have heard good sources that another aircraft entered. I've never heard them say that, but I was told that from good sources, right? They must have had a conversation with them and told them, oh, you need to stay home and we will come and check you. When they actually went, now these people came all through the system, from my understanding, right? When they got to the end of the line, somebody realized, wait, we should have checked these people. They told them to go home and stay home. They didn't. They went into town to their businesses. When the health authorities went to check on them as they were supposed to do, they weren't there. They now had to scramble and them at their business places. The next thing they had to do is to scramble to court to change the Health Act that gives them permission to literally tell them you're under house arrest. And as I speak to you, in the area I'm living here, there are 2 police cars at 2 different points that are there placed by the and to ensure that they don't leave. They also close the businesses. No, all of this was happening. Listen to me, right? These people came in on Wednesday. Apparently, Thursdays when they left. Fridays when they had to scramble and go to court. No, nobody says anything to the nation. We live in small countries. People here. So by the time this story and all the susu is going, and people see the police cars and people who know what the cars represent, the place was buzzing last weekend with rumors, with innuendos, with everything, because people didn't know. On Sunday evening, the Ministry of Health had to scramble and put out a press release, because if it had lasted that next night, I don't know what happened in the country the next day. So they ran and put out a press release. Now, if on Friday they had said something, right? Mark, you know, they had a special court hearing, so they had all the time in the world to do it. But there's this concept that I find, and as a publicist myself, having worked as a publicist, so many of our people want with corporate life, they want you to hide. Don't say nothing yet. Don't say nothing. Tell people what is happening. And there will be a little bit of a ripple. But you know what? If they believe you, they will be calmer in terms of how they deal with it. Then on Monday now, after all of this, the Prime Minister gets on air and says, oh, he wants to remind people that you can go to prison for a year and pay how much ever money for causing alarm and all the rest of it. Who caused the alarm? The people or the system? And this is where, for some reason, my thing is that our leadership have not understood the power of social media. Think back 20 years ago. If this were to happen, they would control
Together with you, our customer,
the entire process.
We energize our community.
Together with you, we energize.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
All right. Let's get back to Jerry, I hope. Yeah? Oh, Jerry.
Are you there? I'm here, but I'm not seeing anything. On my screen is the ad. Hello?
Grenada, 1795. One man with a sense of destiny.
Tonight we stand our ground. Tonight we stand on the side of history.
14,000 slaves with a dream and a promise. Julian Fedor, a Heritage Theatre production, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, 28th and 29th March, 4th and 5th April at the Trade Center.
People was not made to live like this. It's like we have a cause.
Julian Fedor, an action-packed historical drama.
I see blood falling from the sky, filling up that mountain river, flowing from Belvedere Hills. I see blood.
4 big nights of theater, the play the nation has been waiting to see, with Sam Ogilvy, Lisa Grappy James, Robert White, Dale Devine, and other top-of-the-line acting talents. Opening Saturday, 28th March. Get your tickets now. Grenada, 1795. One man with a sense of destiny.
Tonight we stand our ground. Tonight we stand on the side of history.
14,000 slaves with a dream and a promise. Julian Fedor, a Heritage Theatre production, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, 28th and 29th March, 4th and 5th April at the Trade Center.
People was not made to live like this. It's like we have a cause.
Julian Fedor, an action-packed historical drama.
I see blood falling from the sky, filling up that mountain river, flowing from Belvedere Hills. I see blood.
4 big nights of theater, the play the nation has been waiting to see, with Sam Ogilvy, Lisa Grappy James, Robert White, Dale Devine, and other top-of-the-line acting talents. Opening Saturday, 28th March. Get your tickets now.
All right, folks. Looks like the Gremlins have made their Sunday morning visit. For whatever reason, we're not able to pull Jerry up there. I'm just going to keep trying. Let's see if we can pull Margaret up. Not even pulling Margaret up. Let's see if we can pull Beverley up. Not pulling Beverley up. Okay. Yes, sirree. So what can I tell you? If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Okay. Yeah, there's Beverley now. So let's see if we can bring Jerry back. Jerry was speaking just before we went. Yeah, there's Jerry. Jerry, can you hear us now?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I'm sorry about that hiccup, if you will, but continue.
Yeah, I don't know where we lost it, but I was making the point that after all the confusion last week, created by the fact that the people in authority never told the nation what was going on, and people heard bits and pieces of news, and people went wild. I mean, absolutely wild. People were sending all kind of messages to me, and I kept saying to someone, no. And when it got out of hand, as I said, they put out a release Sunday evening, which is very unusual. On Monday, the Prime Minister is talking about, he wants to remind people that if anybody creates alarm, that they can go to prison for a year and be charged. Nonsense. When people fear for their lives, people will do anything. And if the government are part of the problem why people are fearful and concerned, government must take its responsibility to heart. They are the ones with the responsibility. The Minister of Health, the Ministry of Health has the responsibility to look out for the nation. But you see, the other side of that coin is our people. Our people, last week I found out from two friends of mine that they had come through from South Korea. And they told me that when they came in, they went through and nobody even asked them a question. I said, from South Korea? I said, yes. I went the next day and I said it on radio. And there were people on radio who wanted to eat my head off for saying it. It was a political defense. And until we stop this foolishness of thinking that everything we respond to in our society has to be a response politically, we will not get anywhere. So when this weekend came and exactly what I said the people told me from South Korea happened, I read on Monday morning, I said, where are the naysayers who wanted to shoot the messenger? You see, instead of going and say, did this thing happen? How can we fix it? No, the messenger was to be shot. And having nothing about it, we had the confusion that we had last weekend. But here's what, right? South Korea said that they now have this spike. The people who passed through the war, actually in South Korea for a bit, 14 days haven't passed, and we just learned also that China itself says it's 20 days. Now, where are we, folks? Do we have? And then they say, oh, we don't have it, and everything. How do we know that? If you don't control as much as possible your border, how can you sit there with any degree of clarity and say that we are safe when you haven't passed through the incubation period? But everything is dealt with politically. We can't make the prime minister bad. We can't make the party look bad. Because if you, and then when you speak up, you make the country look bad. This matter is too serious, and I've said this from day one. This is a very serious matter. As I said, look at Iran. The people are rioting because they thought the government them. You know, the same thing could happen in our country. The exact same thing could happen. Do we want to wait until our countries get to a stage of being on the brink? In fact, one of the experts this morning said, actually as a globe on the brink of a pandemic. Do we understand what those things mean? These are serious, serious times. And people in politics have to put aside their politics and get on with the program. Their responsibility is that to protect the health of the nation. That's the oath the ministers of health took. And they must understand that we expect them to do that.
All right, Jerry. We have ignored the folks on social media for a little while, and I just want to get them in here before they jump all over me, okay? So just hang in there for a sec. Now, going back a little while, okay, Ryan Jaban says, according to the Grenada Press, Dr. Martin called to say that he had looked into the matter of the second arrival of the private jet containing Chinese nationals and was satisfied that the people who came in on the plane did not pose any threat to Grenada. We already know that, Brian. Arthur Langine says, I don't expect Mr. Martin to say anything else. M. Claudius McLeod says, it would seem that given the potential pandemic nature of CV-19, Grenada would be seeking to uphold the highest standards, both to protect Grenadian citizens and to be a responsible member of the global community. This is highly irresponsible on the part of Grenada's administration. He says part of that high standard is transparency. John Noseydeck says, I have tried to find the flight log for this aircraft, but to no avail. Every plane must be logged by aviation laws. Gemma Monica Hunt says, it's 24 days of confinement, not 14 days as before. Did you guys know that?
27.
Yes, because it's now 27.
27 days.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because they're unsure what's going on with this.
All right, let me continue here with Facebook for just a sec. Hold on a minute, hold on. You guys are moving a little bit faster than I can. John Nosinek says, registration details for B-8131. Hanergy Mensheng Aviation, the plane that arrived without a trace. Ryan says, the action of making the secret thing of the second jet of Chinese MBA entering Grenada obscure is done for a reason. Okay, hold on. Clive Joseph Ramdeen says, good morning to you guys and greetings from Berkeley, California. Okay. All right. I find it very concerning when I try to reach the authorities. You know, people usually criticize the media for not doing their homework and for not doing their investigative reporting and all of that. And then you spend an afternoon calling people and then the next morning calling people and nobody returns your calls. Well, not only does it make them look bad, but I think it makes the country look bad because there's a lot of curiosity out there about what's going on, and when you're trying to provide the facts and the authorities who are in a position to provide those facts just don't bother with you, what the heck can you do? Jared?
Right.
Hello?
When you look at... Hi, George, are you hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I said, when you look at this story in the news today, which said it spoke with Dr. Martin in that story did not deny that a flight came in. He just said that he's satisfied that the people didn't pose any risk to Grenada. And I don't know what gave him that satisfaction. He didn't say. But he didn't say there was no flight, according to the news report which came out in the newspaper. He said he was satisfied that they posed to Grenada, which is a totally different thing. No flight came in. And this is, I said it twice before, George, and I say it again. The authorities in this country owe the people an explanation. An explanation of what is happening and what happened concerning this flight. And then somewhere else, it was said that, oh, the flight didn't come in on Friday. It was so when it came in for Thursday or when the flight came in. You know? And these kind of hopscotch and jumping around and failing to give proper answers to questions, it raises fear. And when people go on social media and make their comments and want to say, these same officials come talk about fake news and spreading harm and that they want to say. They know what happened. They refuse from speaking with you, George, or speaking with anyone else. They would call to actually ask about what happened. When you want to get real answer, you just get the run around.
And you know, Bev, this is the kind of thing that gives rise to the hype you see in social media, because people can't get answers. They're going to start speculating as to what is actually happening, and then the media is going to get blamed. We're putting out a lot of garbage and hysteria, aren't we, Mikes?
That's true. It's the saying, Jerry, and everybody else will have heard before. Nature abhors a vacuum. It's the same thing. If you do not give people information will come from somewhere. There has to be something to fill the space. I think too, sometimes officials feel, and this is not to defend them, but sometimes they figure that if they don't know, or if they tell people they don't know that there's a problem, well, you don't know everything, and you're better off saying to people, look, this is what we know, this is what we don't know. But when we have answers to what we don't know, we will let you know as it becomes available. It's as simple as that. There's no reason to play hide and seek or dodge, because it only creates suspicion. And I mean, I don't need to tell you guys have been on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else to see some of the comments and things that have been posted regarding this virus. And a lot of it is not true, and a lot of what is not true is driving hysteria. Even people you would think that would know better and should behave better, you see them helping to spread the hysteria as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they also lack information, and the hysteria is spread more by the actions of the officials than by what people are saying in social media.
Exactly, and to just think, it comes back to the GBN News report. Now, there may be a perfectly legitimate reason for your editing out the portion of the CMO's denials. There may be a perfect legitimate reason. There could have been a technical glitch. All kinds of things could have happened. But because nothing was said, because rumors have been spreading widely, and people look to the one source that they hope will give them official information, and then now it was here, and now it's not there.
Now you see, now you don't.
And you go like, what's going on here? Conspiracy theories start to build. Oh yes, they have something to hide. That's the reason why they pulled this guy off. I wonder who threatened GBN. Did the government do that, or was it the Chinese? Or
Exactly. And for something as important as this, Margaret and George, you would expect that it would be on every single station, not just GBN. And I checked several other stations, several other news outlets, and there was nothing.
Right.
So the one place where the denial was made and it disappears and it's nowhere else. Come on. Come on. It's like I think everybody's stupid.
Exactly.
And I agree with you, Margaret. GBN could have had, and I said it earlier when I spoke about the cut in the thing, GBN could have had 1,001 reasons. I work in television production and I know how these things go. There could have been 1,001 reasons to cut that first part of the story. But this is not just upon GBN to keep it out there. The health authorities should jump out right away and ensure that this is on every single outlet possible. You can't just put it in one place and leave it there. So if GBN has a problem, there is nothing out there. That does not make any sense. You put it everywhere.
Sense. And we're just repeating mistakes. I mean, it seems as though we're not learning at all. We're just not learning at all. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect to get different results. You're not going to get different results. You have to change the mode of operation.
All right, guys, I'll tell you what. Is there anything else you want to say about this coronavirus, and not so much the virus, but the way we're handling it here? Because there's something else that I know you guys discussed this on Thursday night on We Chat, but for the larger audience, they did not see the piece about CARICOM coming to the support. Baroness Patricia Scotland, and I'm sure that Jerry's sitting there very quietly, just probably licking his lips, but I'm sure he's going to have something to say about that. So could we take a little break and then come back and switch gears just a wee bit?
Sure.
Jerry?
I think he's dropped out. That picture has been frozen a while.
Frozen, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it okay with you guys if we take a little break and come on back?
Sure. Absolutely.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And GrenadaBroadcast is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GrenadaBroadcast, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, let's now move on to about 23 minutes before high noon, and we have lost Jerry. However, if I'm not mistaken, we still have Beverley and Margaret. There they are. Okay. Folks, on Thursday night, you guys were talking about the fact that Patricia Scotland is about to receive CARICOM support for her reappointment as Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Now, that in itself was, a little bit of a surprise in light of everything that she's been involved in recent times. She's come under fire. And we saw a video that had been circulated over the past week where St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Ralph Gonzalez, had his hand on her shoulder and expressing his support and that of CARICOM. Beverley, before I play that video, anything you want to say as a prelude to what we're about to see?
Patricia Scotland, Baroness Patricia Scotland, is a born native of this region. She would have left the region at a very early age, I understand around 2 years old. She left and she grew up in England. So she is not connected to us culturally. She grew up in a different culture. I certainly don't know the backstory in how she came to be nominated by this region as Secretary General. But what I do know is that there were two other nominees, one from Antigua, one from Trinidad, and some things went on in the background, some night ships and some promises and all kind of favors were being thrown around. And by the time these favors were distributed, suddenly everyone threw their support behind Baroness Scotland. So from the very beginning of her appointment, things happened that were quite distasteful, I should say. Knighthoods that she handed out had to be rescinded because the order through which they came were not recognized and were not authentic. And there was just all kind of messy stuff going on. At the time she got elected, still somehow, she declared that, she wanted to advance the LGBT agenda. It was one of the first thing she said on her appointment. It's the most important thing to the end, and afterwards, she was accused of squandermania in renovating her residence. And since then, she has had more than 50 reports of improper use of funds against her. The latest being when the auditors went through. And after the auditors went through, the UK decided to withdraw its funding support. New Zealand decided to withdraw its funding support, and also Australia, based on the reports that came out from the auditors. So this is the Baroness who came to the CARICOM meeting and was warmly received and promised that the entire CARICOM is going to support her for her re-election. That's my piece, George.
Well, that just about sums it up. Now, let's take a look at this video that had been making the rounds over the past few days with Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves and Baroness Scotland.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the rest of the Caribbean community overwhelmingly support Baroness Scotland to continue as Secretary General of the Commonwealth. We think that the attempts to hound her out are entirely unacceptable, and that those who are doing so must cease it. It's unbecoming. And I look forward very much to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali in June, where I'm very confident that she'll be re-elected to serve as Secretary General of the Commonwealth for second term.
All right, so there you have it. That was Prime Minister Gonsalves and Baroness Scotland at the recent Heads of Government meeting. I think it was the 36th intersessional meeting that was held just this past week. Beverley, I see you smiling. Waldo?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I don't want to peek. I find it so distasteful that hugging up of the Secretary General by Prime Minister Gonsalves. It's just distasteful. And I am sure if either of them had any sense of and protocol, and either of them really respected the office that they represent and the office they hold, you could not be out in the public with that kind of hug up and slapping at the back thing. Even if you want to show your support. If you want to show your support, you come out. The Secretary General stand where she stand, you stand where you stand, and you present your statement in support as dignified and respectable people would. Not this thing. What's with the hand around the shoulder? I mean, as far as I know, that's not his wife. for you to be making those kind of public displays. That is unbecoming, Dr. Gonzalez. But what you're referring to as those trying to hound her out, it's unbecoming. You hugging up the Secretary General in that manner, that is unbecoming, quite distasteful. And it shouldn't happen, but it just goes to show that these Caribbean leaders, since Dr. Gonzalez claimed to be speaking on behalf of CARICOM, he's not the chairman, but he's making statements on behalf of CARICOM. And since he claims to be speaking on behalf of CARICOM, if that is what is acceptable at the level of the heads of government, we do not have to wonder why or look very far to see what is happening in our region. Anything, that moral glue which is supposed to hold societies together, it's gone. Corruption and immorality and unethical behavior doesn't mean anything to these people in positions of leadership and authority. It's fine with them. The fact that there are 50 plus charges or strikes against the Baroness for the 4 years she has been there. So if you average it out, it's more than 10 per year. The fact that this has happened means nothing to CARICOM leaders. You know, we're going to support her anyway. And support her on what basis? It's not like she has done anything or made any impact on the Caribbean. Even in the Windrush scandal, nobody heard her voice. She didn't have anything to say. She didn't. The Secretariat didn't issue a statement. Not a word. Nothing. So it's not like she has come out and done anything for the Caribbean region for the leaders to say we are supporting her because of XYZ. And she has all these strikes against her, and still you want to stand up there and talk about those who are trying to hound her out. Hound her out in what respect? So I just find what Dr. Gonzalez did totally distasteful. And
right,
I also
let me try
find...
and get Mags's take on this. I'm sure she's got something to say.
Well, you know, actually, it's not a story that I followed a whole lot, to be very honest with you, George. I knew that there was some controversy around her election in the beginning between the Caribbean and Africa and Britain. There was some kind of thing about that because wasn't what's his name, Sanders, wasn't he the favorite to be the nominee, and then she came on board under some mysterious kind of circumstance. So really and truly, I haven't really followed that a whole lot until now. You know, this whole thing came up now that she's up for re-election again. If, as the reports are saying, that she has been involved in unsavory practices, then I don't think it's a good thing for us to be supporting her. You know, we seem to be developing a reputation here for, you know, just siding with a set of unsavory characters. My other thing is, too, at the time of her election was the fact that I didn't see her as culturally Caribbean. That's just my bias. If we were going to get somebody from the Caribbean, the person really should have been culturally Caribbean. Somebody who went to England at 2 really doesn't know anything about us, and certainly isn't culturally Caribbean, in my opinion. But that's another discussion. I don't know. I mean, Bev, I hear you about Gonzalez hugging up. I didn't take too much offense on that because we're like that in the Caribbean, you know. We're just like that. It may not be the politically correct thing to do in these times, but it's just that we've been like that in the Caribbean. So, you know, maybe it's from that perspective. And I mean, I don't know, you know, maybe they knew each other before, or they probably, you know, have developed a relationship over the years of her being in that position. So that part of it really didn't bother me as much.
Bev?
We grew up with and that person may become, let's say they're elected to the parliament and become the prime minister. But he's a good buddy. You grew up together, you went to school together, and the friendship continued through adulthood. You don't walk up to him in a public session and go and slap him on the back and behave like that with him, even though he's your buddy. Because there are certain protocols that goes with the office that he holds. So whether or not they are friends, and I doubt they are, whether or not they are friends, it doesn't excuse that type of display, that type of public display at all. Because most of us in the Caribbean, we are familiar with each other that way. But when someone you're familiar with in that way, as a matter of fact, you should want your friend to look the best in that office, so that you don't go and behave in a manner to make it look like, he doesn't or she doesn't respect the office that they hold. You just don't do that. So I really find it very, very distasteful, and it should not have happened. And Dr. Gonzalez, as a long-standing prime minister in the region, he should know better than that. And I'm sure he does. I'm absolutely sure he does, but it's the kind of contempt that our leadership treats us with.
Parting question for both of you ladies. One of the things that was front row center at this past conference was the implementation of sort of flat fee for roaming rates. Let me hear your take on that, Bev.
I think I said it in another forum, it sounds like good news, but anything being announced in CARICOM is usually a 10-year plan. You look at the chairman calling on Dr. Gonzalez to dust off the Rosal Declaration. Rosal Declaration is what, 30 years old? And she's calling for it to be dusted off now and brought back into existence. So when I hear these announcements, Georgia sound good, but I am not throwing any confetti just now. So that is one thing. The second thing is usership has evolved beyond roaming rates. People are now into data more than anything else. People traveling with their laptops, their smartphones, their iPads, and people working on the go and doing what they're doing on the go. So roaming rates, in my opinion, is no longer at the top of what the consumer wants. The consumer wants proper data. You want to be connected wherever you go. That is what people want. You want to be sitting in the airport in Trinidad and you can't open your laptop there and connect and do whatever you want to do, because the little free Wi-Fi is so restricted you can't do anything there. So that would have been a better area for them to venture into, as far as I'm concerned, to look at standardizing data across the region, to look at ensuring that people that can connect wherever they go. And even if you're going to implement a user fee or something, whatever, I don't think most people would mind paying a small user fee as long as you can connect wherever you are and wherever you go. And a lot of these, not a lot of, but some of the smaller hotels, you go into some of the smaller hotels and the rates they're charging you for data, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because the CARICOM heads, as far as I'm concerned, are slow and way behind what the consumers are doing if roaming rates is now a priority for them. And I do believe that the roaming rates should be standardized. I just don't think it's a priority right now.
The providers down here, I'm talking Digicel and Flow, they will not hesitate to tell you that their priority nowadays is data. That's how they make their money, data. Ironically, look, just a few minutes ago, if you look on Facebook here, you'll see that our friend John in Carriacou, he's left us because of the quality of internet service he's got up there. If only we could finally get to the day when we have a steady flow of broadband bandwidth. Boy, orgasmic, let me tell you. All right, now, Time to go get some lunch, ladies. But let me thank you both. Are you both taking me out to lunch today or what?
I think Margaret taking you.
Folks, you see, they laugh at that. That's a big joke to them. That's a joke.
I'll beam him over. I'll beam him over.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Bev and Mark. We'll see you guys on Thursday night for the next edition of Make We Chat. How about that?
You are most welcome, George, and looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to having Atty back with us.
Definitely.
There they go, Margaret and Beverley. Margaret's in New York, and Beverley is right here in Grenada. My dear friends, just about time to pull the curtain down. And we're going to take just one quick little break here, and then we shall say bonsoir.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And GrenadaBroadcast is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GrenadaBroadcast, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, we're not going anywhere without a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. And today's reading comes to you from the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah chapter 1, 3 verses, 17, 18, and 19. Get yourself ready. Stand up and say to them, whatever I command you. Do not be terrified by them, or I will terrify you before them. Today I have made you a fortified city, an iron pillar, and a bronze wall to stand against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, its officials, its priests, and the people of the land. They will fight against you, but will not overcome you. For I am with you and will rescue you. declares the Lord. Is that a call going out to you today? Go read Jeremiah chapter 1, 17, 18, and 19. My dear friends, interesting morning. Sorry for the hiccups, but we pulled it through. We made it. Thank you very much for being there with us. Invitation to join us tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Next edition of Good Day Grenada, and every day this week. Tomorrow morning, I do expect that the Bain sisters will be back with Fiscal Alert. Then on Tuesday, Ray Roberts. On Wednesday, Sharon Roberts. On Thursday, Allan Bierzynski. On Friday, Brian Pitt. By the way, we apologize for last Friday. Last Friday, pretty much the whole island, most of the island was down because Digicel had this terrible internet problem off island, which affected us adversely here. But they got that sorted out by Friday night, and we're thankful for that. Have a great Sunday afternoon, my dear friends, and by God's grace, we shall see thee tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning.